All right, we are talking congressional behavior and effectiveness tonight. All right, so uh, congressional behavior is influenced mainly by the election, so how to get reelected, then partisanship, what the party wants you to do, and then how is the government set up, okay? And we'll talk about how like politics are local, and we'll get into that. So the main thing is you want to get reelected. Okay. And if you are in the House of Representatives, more and more of these congressional districts are being gerrymandered so that they're either heavy conservative or heavy liberal. So if I want to get reelected, I've got to be either to the far left or to the far right. Far right for conservatives, far left for liberals. There's not a lot of districts anymore that are toss ups. And you can see in these charts up here. So this is 92 to 2012 to kind of show you how the there are landslide Dem victories more often, like they're getting stronger and stronger. Same with landslide Republicans. Okay, meaning that your moderate politician, your moderate congressman in the House of Representatives is an endangered species. All right, they are going to be in the Washington Zoo with the pandas in a separate cage because we're worried about the pandas might eating them um, in the next few years because they're just the way we're drawing these districts. They're either heavy left or heavy right. Okay, so in order for me to get reelected, which is my goal, is to get reelected, I in the House or the Senate or in the House, I've either got to be super left or super right. Okay. And we've seen in the Senate, because you represent an entire state, you're worried about getting primaried in some instances more so than the general election. So Lindsey Graham is a good example of this. Lindsey Graham has gone very hard conservative the past few years. Why? He didn't want to get primaried in his Senate election in 2020. So he went hyper conservative these past few years, didn't have a primary challenger, wins, the primary easily. Now he's having trouble in the general election. In South Carolina, the fact that Lindsey Graham is having trouble in South Carolina right now is astonishing. Okay. So that kind of shows you kind of like the craziness that is the 2020 senatorial map. But getting reelected is the biggest key here. Okay. Ideological divisions have led to gridlock. Okay. If I am getting reelected in the House, I have to stay either to the far left of the spectrum or the far right of the spectrum, depending upon what district I'm in. Okay, that's where I have to hang out in order to get reelected. Okay, if I am running for the Senate, typically I got to stay a little more central because I'm representing a whole state. So I got to stay a little closer to the center. If I am a presidential candidate, I have to stay fairly close to the center. The bulk of Americans are in the center of the electorate. If I stray too far right or too far left, I'm going to lose. So it makes sense that the Senate, the House, and the presidency don't agree on a lot of things because if I'm the president, I want to get reelected, I got to stay close to the middle. If I'm the Senate and I want to get reelected, I've got to hang out close to the middle. I can veer off depending. Okay. If I am in the House, I want to get reelected, I've got to stay towards the edges. So it's really tough dealing, passing a bill that is going to appease all three of those factions. Okay. Demographic representation. Ideally, your legislature would be a demographic representation of the populace, meaning it would accurately represent the various ethnic and gender differences of the populace. Okay. Of the two, the Senate or the House is more ethnically representative. It has there are two black senators. That's it. Okay. I believe there's only, I want to say like 18 or 19. It's around 20 female senators. Okay. So I think percentage wise, there's actually more females in the Senate, percentage wise, greater percentage of females in the Senate than there are in the House. Okay. But there is we're closer to a demographic representation of the populace in the House than we are in the Senate. By no means are we anywhere close to an accurate demographic representation at all in either the House or the Senate. Age, gender, ethnicity, nowhere close. Nowhere close. But the House tends to be more demographically representative of the United States than the Senate, which is a low bar to climb, but there you go. Okay. Vanishing marginals. All right. If you take a look at uh, all these, like 2012, 117 or 125 over for the Republicans. If we take a look at, so this takes us to 2017. This is 195 that are +5 Republican versus 168 that are +5 Democrat. Okay. There aren't a lot of swing districts, meaning I don't have to do much in order to get reelected. So that's a vanishing marginal. Okay, think of it in terms of with like sports. All right, so Alabama's playing like Georgia Southern. Okay, Alabama knows it's going into that game. It's not going to have, like, you don't have to try very hard to win that game if you're Alabama. All right, so as long as you don't get in the news for scandals, you're going to get reelected. So that's a vanishing marginal. All right. That because the incumbency is so powerful, because as name recognition, I get reelected so easily, I don't have to try very hard in order to get reelected. Okay. We talk about Congress as a whole, and congressional approval rating is like in the high teens to low 20s. Yet, around 85% of individuals, so 85 to even 90% in some instances, 85 to 90% of congressmen and senators get reelected. That doesn't make sense. Okay. We see Congress as an entity unto itself, but our individual representative we see as our own. And so we think that our guy or girl is good, but Congress is awful. We have set up a system where you can run as an individual and get reelected. Why could we possibly think that if you're going to elect 435 individuals or 100 individuals in the Senate and 435 in the House, that they're going to work together as a team and get stuff passed? It's not feasible. We have set ourselves up for failure with that regard. Okay. Incumbency is incredibly important. All right. Still, 85 to 90% of incumbents are going to get reelected. You have the name recognition, you have the party backing for the most part. You're going to get reelected. Okay. Gerrymandering. This is a huge thing. All right. If we go to this chart right here, so gerrymandering is drawing the district to the advantage of one political party. Okay, gerrymandering is drawing a district to the advantage of one political party. All right, so if you would see here, perfect representation of this would be 2 red districts and 3 blue districts. Okay. However, if we draw it horizontally like this, you've got a Democratic majority or a blue majority in each district, which would allow the Democrats to win all 5. You could draw it this way and create districts where the Democratic majority is actually the minority and red wins. All right, so the Republicans would get 3 districts as opposed to 2 by how this is drawn. Okay. Gerrymandering is done by both parties. Democrats have done it in Maryland. Republicans have done it in Carolina, in Texas. Okay. The problem with the districts is that the state legislatures, and please get this down, the state legislatures are the ones, more often than not, that draw the districts. So if the Democrats have a heavy majority in the state legislature, they're going to create districts that are in favor of the Democrats on the national level. Same thing is true for Republicans. Okay, so gerrymandering has created these hyper-partisan districts where they're highly conservative or highly liberal. Okay, so in order to stop this problem, you need independent councils or an independent agency to draw the districts. Okay, but once again, that's on a state level. It's not a federal thing. It's a state level. Even though it affects the federal government, each state controls its own districts. So there has to be some form of legislation on a federal level that requires the states to have an independent agency or an independent commission to create these districts so that you have an accurate representation. Until then, there's going to be gerrymandering. All right, and that's leading to the decline of the competitive seats, all right, which is allowing for and the past two, maybe 3 Congresses have been the least effective Congresses within terms of number of bills passed because there's no compromise to be found because these guys really don't. 35 votes. No one cares. Okay, I don't need those votes. All right. Okay. So that's talking about legislative branch, and we are done for the evening.